So what we're going to be looking at here is something that's pretty interesting. So this is Dave Rubin and Ben Shapiro. Now they are friends, and they decided to do. Dave Rubin came off the grid. He was off the grid for like a month or like 3 weeks or something like that. And so when he came back on the grid, Ben Shapiro decided to. They decided to link up, and Ben Shapiro is doing the interview here in a sort of little twist. And we've looked at part of this clip, but apparently there was another half of this clip that was even more interesting and intriguing than the first part of the clip because it's more impactful and we see more of this going on. But basically what you guys are going to be seeing is Dave Rubin and I guess they were taking audience questions, I think through Super Chat, if I'm not mistaken. And one of the questions is whether or not Ben Shapiro would bake Dave Rubin a cake for his gay wedding. And, we're going to see what he says, but they're also going to go on to continue to discuss this and go into interesting areas of discussion that I didn't previously know they had, but this time we're going to look at the full clip. Check it out.
Incredibly good happening.
Okay, so here's a super chat question for you. Let's see. It says, this one's interesting. Love the two of you. You both converted a socialist into a libertarian conservative. Awkward question. Shapiro, will you bake Rubin a wedding cake? Okay, so, I mean, my answer is...
Well, I'm married already.
Right, he's married already.
But an anniversary... It was my anniversary last week. An anniversary cake would have been nice.
Right, so the answer is no. And the reason I won't is because as a religious Jew, I do not participate in activities that I believe are sinful. But again, we live in a free country, and Dave knows this. He doesn't have to care what I think about sin. And as long as I'm not bothering Dave, I don't see why it's a problem.
Yeah.
So does Dave have a husband? Yeah. I mean, okay. And are we friends? Yeah. And are we going to go out to dinner sometime in the near future? Yeah. I mean, but there's a difference between me just being friends with Dave and me actively participating in an event that I feel is religiously sinful. And I think this is how most religious Christians and most religious Jews feel. And while that's awkward, we're still friends in spite of it, which is why we're friends. If we couldn't be friends in spite of it, then it would be a bad thing.
Well, look, when I did your interview show, which, by the way, I mean, you jacked the idea of an interview show from me. It's all right.
It's true.
But nobody had done it before me. But what you said that to me, and I truly mean this. Like, if you think what I'm doing is sinful, like it sounds glib, but I don't care.
And this is my view: is you don't have to care, right? It's a free country,
like that's the thing. And it's like, look. There's, of course, someone's going to go, well, wait a minute. If you really think his marriage is sinful or something, of course, there may be a place that in the nature of our friendship, maybe that we can't quite get to, that I would be able to get to with someone that didn't think
For sure.
That is very possible, and it goes both ways, right? Like, I then look at you and I go, well, why?
Right, if you adopt a kid, you don't want me teaching your kid about the nature of family, perhaps, right? I mean,
possibly, but you're probably a pretty good dad. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why is it that we're able to do this and most people can't do this?
Because
that's what I'm curious about.
We go home at night and we can have our own lives. I mean, that's real, and I think part of friendship, by the way, is that. Like, we go home at night and we just have our own lives.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not married to you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's like my wife and I have to agree on these issues. You and I don't have to agree on these issues in order for us to share a common space together, and that's really the important thing.
Do you think your wife and you have to agree on all of these issues, or just the sort of more foundational ones?
The foundational ones. But I do think that, how you raise your kids religiously and with regard to things like sexual morality does actually have to be at the root of how you teach your kids.
Yeah.
So if you have deep divisions with your spouse on these issues, I think that, and you're looking to build a family anyway, then I think that these are issues where building on a bad foundation is a bad move.
So so if you wouldn't bake me a cake, that's okay. And now, because it's 50-50, I can't bake you a cake, which David's an incredible chef, and he would have done it kosher, the whole thing, man.
Yeah, now I feel bad.
He would have done it for you.
You got me this close.
Putting that aside, you can't have David's kosher cake now. If we were having an anniversary party, would you come? If I was inviting all the crew that we all know, and we were just an anniversary party, we're just having a party, and I'll even throw in some kosher food for you to make sure you don't have to bring your own food.
Honestly, I'd have to think about it. In the same way.
So that's interesting to me, because that's a different thing.
Well, not really, because again, if you're a religious person, and again, take it from the religious perspective. From the religious perspective, the question is, are you glorifying something that you think is sinful?
Yeah.
So if it's a party for something that you think was originally sinful, can you participate in that? So from a religious point of view, that's an actual serious moral question.
Yeah.
would I go out to dinner with you? The answer is yes, right? Because that's not actually like, let's celebrate something that I feel that you're doing is sinful. But I'd have to think about that one. And I'm being perfectly honest, like, I'm trying to be as straightforward as possible on
I
this
want you to. So see, that's so interesting to me, because it's like if I threw a regular party, we were just having a party at my house, and all the guys.
But that's right for a gay wedding cake also, right? Like, I'd bake you a cake that had nothing to do with the gay wedding.
Right.
And I would go to a party with you that has nothing to do with gay marriage.
Would you bake me a regular cake? Could I just have a Thursday cake?
Yeah, sure, I'd give you a cake. Why the hell not? I mean, my baking sucks. I'll just buy you one.
I want a shittily baked Shapiro cake, and then I'm going to write. Then once I get it here, I can do whatever I want with it.
A piece of crap. I mean, it's not going to be good, but it'll be there. All right, let's see.
There's a lot there. You know what? But this is what we'll keep talking about forever, and it's all right.
Exactly. All right, let's see.
Wow, so that really did not disappoint in terms of being interesting. Basically, what you guys just saw is somebody asked the question of if Ben Shapiro would bake a cake for his gay wedding, because obviously Dave Rubin is married to a man, he's gay, and I'm sure that's something that you know, because he has refused to let anybody forget that. That is something that he insists upon every single person on planet Earth to be well aware of and fully understanding of, because he seems to never stop mentioning that he's gay, and he wants to make sure that you remember. So this was super interesting, first of all, because I found it extremely ridiculous that Ben Shapiro would not bake a cake for his gay wedding. But thinking that something is sinful in terms of when it comes to being gay, gay married, is pretty insane. And something interesting is that if you go off the religious scripture, Ben Shapiro is actually right, but he could be more right in the direction of actually following exactly what it says. And he says he's a Bible-believing Jew, and in the Old Testament specifically, it literally says that, you need to stone gays. So, I mean, he could go even further with his religious belief. But the thing that you cannot doubt is that Ben Shapiro is extremely anti-gay when you talk about something like that. Now, this is not as in he would want to make a law against gay marriage. I'm sure he doesn't want that now. If you go, rewind back to, '02, maybe he would have said that. But now I don't think he would say that. Now he's more of the ilk of, no, I don't really care about it, because it's not a front that you can really win on. But essentially what's going on here is you're seeing the really awkwardness between the two in this discussion. If you notice towards the end there, Shapiro was trying to hastily get away from the question because he seemed very uncomfortable. And the second part of the clip that I hadn't shown before because I didn't know existed was Dave Rubin actually shocked. He was legitimately shocked. He was legitimately surprised, because he essentially presents Ben Shapiro with the question of, hey, if I were to just throw an anniversary party and, I'm inviting everyone, so everyone's just going to come. It's a party for my anniversary. Would you come to that? And Ben Shapiro says he'd have to think about it. Now, for Ben Shapiro, that's definitely a no. I think he's just saying he'd have to think about it because he doesn't want to be so blunt and brute about what he's trying to say. I think he wants to make it more subtle. I think he doesn't want to go all the way with what he's saying. But the fact that Dave Rubin was actually surprised or shocked by it makes the situation all the more telling and all the more symbolic, because obviously we know that Dave Rubin is a big-time sellout. The thing is, we don't really know if he had any convictions in the first place. I don't think he did. So he's essentially been a grifter his entire political careerist career. But the point here being is that he sold out to the right to be able to make shit tons of money and being a token. Double token, by the way. He plays a double token card. One is the, I was a previous liberal on the Young Turks, which not many people can say. And then the number two one is, I am somebody who is gay and I'm conservative. And so I'm going to, love my Chick-fil-A burgers or Chick-fil-A sandwiches, even though I'm gay. And so that gives him, a bunch of credit in that realm. But the fact that he was actually surprised made the scene all the more telling and all the more interesting, because you can tell that there's this really like weird scenario going. And I think that, again, it's just a shitty thing to do. Like, if you were not to go to a party because it's an anniversary for a gay couple. And if I were in Dave Rubin's shoes, I wouldn't be anywhere near Ben Shapiro, because that just shows that, your supposed good friend, which is what I think Dave Rubin would call Ben Shapiro, a good friend of his. What kind of a friend is that? Your friend despises you so much because you chose a lifestyle that you actually weren't able to choose, something that was, given to you at birth, and they don't even accept your identity, because being gay, your entire life you're gay. This is not like, you know, I don't know, like, let's say you're a smoker and then you quit smoking. You can't quit being gay. That's not a thing. So this person who's supposedly your good friend is completely just hates your entire lifestyle and thinks that you're a sinner. And I think that that's embarrassing, but I think that it's also very telling of Dave Rubin himself, because it shows that he can be shocked at the levels of, anti-gay and homophobia behavior from Ben Shapiro, but at the same time continue to be his good friend, because, the money is rolling in, the cash is rolling in. So even if Ben Shapiro won't come to his party, he can pay for another friend to come to his party. Or if Ben Shapiro won't buy or bake him a cake, he's got enough cash to buy a shit ton of cakes, right? So what you're looking at here, man, is just it's really unbelievable. But I really want to know your thoughts about this down below. I'm sure that you guys found this interesting as well, mostly because Dave Rubin was actually shocked by what Ben Shapiro said.